Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is Thursday at 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a mat test, which is rapidly becoming one of the most popular videos on the channel. If you don't know what a mat test is, I have a guy working with me in the office. His name is Matt, and he is a huge Magic fan. As well as being a Magic fan, he's a performer. He's not a magician, but he's a performer. He's a singer. He's in a rock band. He's a musical theatre actor. He does an awful lot, and he works full-time in the sales department of my company, so he knows the importance of having a magician at an event, and he works at lots of events where magicians are at. And he loves magic, and he reacts really well to magic. Now, the mat test is basically, I show him a trick, and he tells me what he thinks. And it's kind of really interesting with the mat test, because sometimes I'll perform a trick to him that I think is brilliant, and he won't like it very much. Other times, I'll perform tricks to him that I hate, and he loves, and sometimes we're kind of in the middle. So today, it's going to be another mat test, and this is on a trick that we reviewed very, very recently on the Craig and Ryan Review Show. This is Ideal Meal by David Jonathan. Now, I want to say, before I actually run the footage of the mat test, that I really, really love Ideal Meal by David Jonathan. And I think myself and Ryan gave it Trick of the Week. And we both gave it 100%. We both said we're going to perform it at gigs, and we are. I love the hook. I love the presentation. I love everything about it. I just think it's a really cool trick. And I think for restaurant workers, if you work in a restaurant and you're talking about creating the ideal meal, I think it makes total sense. It's why I gave it such a good mark. I want to say that because the results of this mat test were not as I expected. In fact, it was about as far away from what I expected as you could possibly get. So, I'm not going to say any more until afterwards. Let's have a look at this week's mat test and have a look at what Matt thought of Ideal Meal by David Jonathan. So I'm going to show you a trick, and it uses something inside there, which we'll get back to in a minute, and also a prediction. Now, I know you know a little bit about magic. I don't want you to think that somehow I'm cheating. So I'm going to put the prediction right there. And I want you to remember that before we did anything, the prediction was put on the table. Okay, there's a prediction inside there of exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. Now, have you ever heard of the Ideal Meal Company?
No.
Okay, it's basically promo cards and things for various different restaurants. I picked these up because I thought it would be a really interesting thing to show you. I thought what we'd do is we'd make the perfect meal.
Okay.
Okay? We'd make the perfect meal. And what I have here is I have 16 cards altogether. Now, these 16 cards there's 4 starters, there's 4 drinks, there's 4 mains, and there's 4 desserts.
Okay.
And they're from 4 different restaurants. The first one is Chopsticks, which is a Chinese restaurant. The second one is the Surf House, which is a seafood restaurant. The third one is Giovanni's, which is an Italian restaurant. And the final one is Blackstone's, which is a steakhouse. Okay? So we've got all these different cards, and we've got drinks, we've got starters, we've got desserts, we've got everything. Okay?
Okay.
Now we're going to create the perfect meal. I'm going to show you the drinks, then the starters, then the mains, then the desserts. You get to pick 1 starter, 1 main, 1 dessert, and 1 drink.
Cool.
Here's the thing. You have to have 1 item from each restaurant. So we're going to create the perfect meal.
Okay.
Now, so you're going to be at various different decisions of what you want from each restaurant. But at any point you want to, you can change things out. As long as we end up with 1 item from each restaurant, it's totally up to you.
Okay.
And we're going to start off with the drinks. So the drinks that we've got is from the Surf House, you can have a margarita, which would obviously be Reagan's choice if she was here. From Giovanni's, you got pale ale.
Pretty sure
Which would also be
them.
Reagan's choice.
Yep. From Blackstone's, you got Merlot.
Which would also be Reagan's
She would
choice.
probably say, skip the food.
Yeah. She'd just have those 4.
And Chopsticks, you got a cup of tea.
Oh, no, she wouldn't have that.
No.
She'd just have the 3.
So the first choice is, what do you want for your drink?
I'll have a margarita.
You want to go for a margarita from the Surf House?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you want to change your mind on that, you can do. That's absolutely fine. We're going to go for the starters now. Okay. So from Blackstone's, we have a Caesar salad. From Giovanni's, we have mozzarella sticks. From the Surf House, you've got clam chowder. And finally, from Chopsticks, you have pan-fried dumplings. Now, I know that you're a vegetarian.
Yeah, I'm going to
And
go
so you're going to lean towards the veggie options. But I don't want you to think, you weren't always...
I think there's ham in that.
What was that? You weren't always... I don't know, I just see green. You weren't always a vegetarian. At one point in your life, you were normal. So here's... So here's...
He picks on you, no,
So supportive.
So So here's the thing. I want you to pretend that you're pre-vegan. You're not vegan. You're not that bad. I want you to imagine that you're. I'm joking.
Pre-veggie.
I've got a lot of my friends are vegans.
Your friend?
One or two.
Boom! Shots fired.
Oh, I hate him.
I'm gonna get
So I want you
demoted.
to imagine it's pre. I don't want you to think, because I don't want people to go, oh, Craig knows he's a vegetarian, so he's obviously going to pick the veggie options. Pretend it's pre-vegan or veggie or whatever the hell you are, and you can pick anything. If you want to go for mozzarella sticks, that's absolutely fine, but don't feel that like that's.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I would, even before I was veggie, I would still go mozzarella.
So we're going to go for mozzarella sticks from Giovanni's, okay? But you can change that. So we've got something from the Surf House, something from Giovanni's. Now we're going to go for the mains, and these are the mains. We have lobster tails from the Surf House. We have, what's that, Chinese sesame chicken. You've got a nice New York strip steak, and finally you've got a beef lasagna. Very little veggie options really there. So
No veggie options.
No
whatsoever.
veggie options. That's got cheese, but
I mean, I would
a lot of
go
beef.
lasagna, but I've already got one from Giovanni's.
So you could
let's
go,
go. I'm
if
gonna
you
go.
wanted the lasagna, you'd have to change that out for something else.
I'm going to go sesame chicken.
You're going to go sesame chicken. You don't
Yeah.
want to change it out, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the final option is desserts. Now, you've got, from Chopsticks, you've got fortune cookies. From the Surf Shop, you've got key lime pie. From Giovanni's, you've got tiramisu. And then finally from Blackstone's, you've got a chocolate.
that's worked out. Yeah, I'd have the chocolate cake. So that's
You would have the
perfect.
chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. I would like you, if you want to, you can change your mind on any of these. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. It's absolutely fine. But it's important that you understand that the choices were yours to make.
This trick's making me hungry.
Yeah, me too, man. I might change out dumplings because I quite fancy the lasagna.
Okay, so you're going to go with that.
Yeah.
Do you want to change your mind again?
No.
Okay. Now, what I didn't tell you is on the other side of all of these, there's actually prices, because obviously there's nothing that's free in life, and there's prices for absolutely everything. There is one thing that's free here, as you can see, free. We all know that you get your fortune cookies for free at the end of a Chinese meal. So the fortune cookies are free, but everything else is charged for, and each one is a different price. You can see that every single meal has a different price, and every single one of them, you can look through these, every single one of them has a different price as well, because each one is priced individually and priced differently, right? As you can see, yeah?
Yeah.
But you ended up with these four. So let's add up your total bill that you're going to have to pay at the end of your night of eating your perfect meal. Your margarita is £10.
Okay.
Your pan-fried dumplings are £8, so that's 18. Your lasagna is £17, so what's 18 plus 17?
35.
So good. And finally, chocolate cake is 7.
42.
Now think about this. If instead of the chocolate cake, you'd went for the fortune cookies, that would have completely changed the price of the meal. You made a last-minute decision to change the prices of a couple of things. If you hadn't have done that, that would have been a completely different outcome. But you've ended up with £42. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. And you made all the decisions.
Yeah.
I didn't limit you in any way. I know you know about forcing. This was a completely free choice, right?
Yeah.
£42. Do you remember I said I put this prediction here from the very beginning? Mm-hmm. I'm going to open it up. Because when I do open it up, you're going to see that I wrote on there, your meal will cost £42. There you go.
It's clever.
Well, that's his monthly wages gone.
I know, yeah. We must be eating out in London.
Your monthly wages, Jack. Not his.
Yeah, I've been demoted for that joke.
Back to an apprenticeship.
I'm so sad.
So, what do you think of that?
It's good.
Yeah? Because this is the Matt test, so it's good. Kind of doesn't really cut the mustard.
No, I know. I've
yeah.
seen quite a few things like this before.
Mm-hmm.
Like in various different things with cards and stuff. I mean, they look like, they're quite well presented.
Yeah.
They look like, they could be genuine restaurants and stuff. And it looks like they've spent some money on the actual cards themselves.
Oh, yeah, they are absolutely 100% genuine. Everything is genuine about these cards. The Ideal Meal Company is a real thing.
Oh, is it really?
I don't know.
I don't
not.
think...
Probably not.
I've never heard of any of the restaurants, but you said that very convincingly.
I did try.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen lots and lots and lots of tricks that are kind of similar to this, and it generally tends to be kind of like it's a you know, you can just go onto a magic shop and buy something like that, and it kind of like does it itself, pretty much.
So you were a bit underwhelmed by this?
Yeah, a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, when I reviewed this, me and Ryan reviewed this, and we gave it like 100%.
Oh, really?
We really like this, so it's really interesting that you're saying that you're a bit underwhelmed. What would have made it better? I'm really surprised. It's fine. I'm really surprised. What would have
I
made
feel bad now.
No. I mean, no. This is why I love the Matt test, because sometimes I'll show you something that I absolutely love, and you're like, and other times I'll show you something I hate, and you're like, oh my god, that's amazing. So no, I find this sort of thing really interesting. What specifically do you not like?
I don't not like it. It's great, and I've seen so many tricks that are kind of similar to it.
So is it that you've seen lots of similar tricks? If you'd seen this for the first time,
if I'd seen that for the first time, I think it'd be like, wow. But there's so many of those things around, and when you like, there's so many magicians when you go out to various different places, and there's magicians perform that have got very, very similar things to this, and it's always like, I've got 4 cards or I've got 8 cards and they've all got these things on them, and then I do this and there's a prediction, and it's like, but then like you'll see them do it later on in the night to someone else and it's the same prediction, and do you know what I mean? So it's the same thing, and it doesn't feel like there's a great deal of skill involved in it.
And do you think it's important as a magician, if you're performing, that you're showing skill?
Not necessarily. I just think that.
Or do you think? I'm interested in what you're thinking here. So, should a trick be like, if it looks like, okay, you just follow the instructions and it works, should there be something more to it? Or maybe it's me. Maybe I just didn't present it well.
No, you did. You presented it well, and like, but I mean, it's obvious that, you know, you have to pick one of each restaurant.
Right. Yeah. Is that an issue?
So it wouldn't have worked if I'd picked 4 things that I actually wanted to eat.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to pick one of each restaurant. So that's got to have something to do with how the trick works, because you've got to pick one of each restaurant. So you've got 16 cards there, and you've got a free choice of any 16 cards, and you can pick your perfect meal, but it's got to be one of these 4. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be one. You've got to have one of each restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's got to have something to do with the way the trick works.
Okay.
So it wouldn't add up to, because it's going to add up to 42 every time, right? You're not going to tell me, but I reckon it's going to add up to 42 every time. So if we could sit down here now and pick 4 different cards, let's have a look, shall we?
No, I don't think we can do that. No.
But if I pick 4 different cards, all from different restaurants, they're going to add up to 42. So it's going to be the same every time.
And is that what you think other lay people will look at and think as well? Do you think that's...
I don't know.
Because this is an interesting discussion. Like,
it depends on how
in
many...
the moment, is it impressive? And when they think about it, will it be something that they kind of deconstruct and go, oh, okay, well, maybe it's done like that. In that case, does it weaken the effect? Or is the effect something that should happen in the moment right there and then?
Again, like we said a little while ago, regardless of what the effect is, regardless of what the trick is, if somebody wants to figure it out badly enough, whether they're right or wrong, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
We've spoken about that before. As far as this particular trick is concerned, I've seen, if somebody's been out and they're going to wedding after wedding after wedding because it's wedding season and they're in their mid-30s and everyone's getting married, right? A few years ago, I was going to that many weddings. It was almost like I was going to one every weekend, because I was in my mid-30s a couple of years ago and everyone was getting married.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you see magicians and they've all got these things.
Or variations.
Or variations of the same thing, where it's they pull a little pouch out, or they pull a little wallet out, or they've got a little box and they've got 4 or 8 or 12 cards in it. And then it's something, but it gets really, really good reactions, and everyone's just like, wow, that's cool, like blah 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 blah. But it's like, because I've seen so, and you've like showed me over the years loads of different things that are very, very similar to that.
Because the principle behind this is very unique. David Jonathan, who's one of my favourite magicians actually, has taken a very old principle in magic and applied it to this in a very clever and unique and original way. And I've never seen another trick use this method in this way, but you're saying it feels similar to other tricks that you've seen.
I don't know what the method is. I'm guessing, like I said, I'm guessing that because you're picking you have to pick one of each restaurant, that it's always going to come to 42.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I reckon it is. If that's not it and it's a different method, fine. But the outcome is the same, isn't it? You have to pick one of each restaurant and then it's always going to come to 42.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've seen a lot of magic now. I don't very often get it right. And I'm aware of that, right? But I don't see another way. The way that it's directed so that you have to pick one of each restaurant, that has to have something to do with it. It's got to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think anybody that saw that trick, if you're directing them, you've got a free choice of this, you've got a free choice, we're going to make up your perfect meal, but it's got to be that. That to anyone is going to be like, oh, okay, well, that's how it's done. Right? Did you kind of pick up on that as we were going along, that might be what it is?
As soon as I saw the numbers, I was starting to think, yeah, surely they must add up to the same.
Everything's got to add up.
Basically, it's like you can figure the formula out from the first place.
I think that anyone that's got 3 seconds to think about how it could work, because you've got to pick one of each restaurant, that's automatically going to be the first point where people start.
Okay. I
think.
Okay. I'm obviously not telling you if you're right or wrong. Then.
Obviously.
But
you never do.
Yeah, I never do.
Even when I'm right.
Well, you'll never know if you're right.
With the pen and the stamp.
Don't know what you're talking about. What, a stamp?
What stamp?
What is this
stamp? What are you talking about?
What is this stamp of which you speak?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I don't know whether I'm just tainted because you've shown me so much magic and there's so many things out there that are very similar to that in look and feel.
So do you think when people are creating tricks now, it needs to be more? Because I show you something a lot of the time. Okay, let me give you an example. Recently, I showed you the invisible lie detector by Wayne Dobson, where I was making you like...
you made me sing, dude.
I made you sing, right? That, in essence, the method is totally different. But with that, you've got a selection of cards with different things on them, and they're picking one. And ultimately, if you actually break down, strip away the singing, strip away the stupidity, strip away the lie detector and the calibrating and all of that jazz, in essence, you're picking one of those objects.
You're absolutely right.
And I'm telling you the object that you pick.
Yeah.
The difference there is presentationally it's different.
Yeah.
And also you have that moment at the end where you open up your hand. And you have diamond, the thing here. Well, it was diamond with you, but you have the thing that they're thinking of. Does that make it better? Because what you're saying here, because you said to me when you saw Invisible Lie Detector, oh, that's an amazing trick. I absolutely loved it. That was brilliant. I loved everything about it other than you made me sing. You didn't say anything about, oh, I've seen lots of tricks like that before. But if you break it down, it's a very similar trick. The only difference is presentation and the ending.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And when we started that other trick, when you brought out those cards, my head went, here we go, I've got another one of these tricks. But by the end of it, it wasn't even in my mind. It was a good trick, and it was something completely different, and we had a laugh, and all three of us were laughing, and it was just something completely different. So maybe it's presentation. Maybe if you're going to do something like this that everybody that's ever seen a magician before has seen, you need to make it different in the presentation of the trick.
Because the problem with this is you're stuck in terms of the presentation, because the whole concept is you're making an ideal meal.
Yeah.
You know, there's very little that you can do with it.
But so also with the other one,
yeah,
you didn't make me do anything.
No.
So I cut the deck, I held it against my chest, I looked at it.
You put it back and you shuffle.
I put it back, I then shuffle them, and then you just knew. That, I told you what it was, but it didn't matter. Regardless of what I've got to pick 4 cards from 4 different restaurants.
Do you think it would have been stronger if the prediction had actually said the 4 items that you picked instead of just the total amount on the back? Or is it still that moment of having to pick? Is it the procedure? Like, okay, so what I'm trying to say is, you're right with the invisible lie detector. You know, you shuffled, if you remember. You shuffled.
I shuffled.
You
I
then looked at the card. You then shuffled
it.
again. I looked away. You then dealt them out, and blah, blah,
We
blah,
just
blah.
moved them out, and then you made me do some stupid shit, and then
Yeah.
you just went, it's that one.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any pick this, pick that, blah blah blah. You just went, it's that one.
Yeah.
In essence, and I don't know how that you would have known that, because there wasn't any. It's not like, oh, well, pick 4 cards, but they've all got to be different from different restaurants.
Yeah.
And then we add up what's on the back of them. There wasn't any of that with the other one.
So is there too much procedure with this trick, in your opinion?
It's too obvious.
Okay.
It's too obvious. To me,
So if I
it's
had
too
a
obvious.
plate here, covered up with one of those things that covers up plates in a restaurant.
The big silver thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told you at the end, after I'd done the 42, I said, now you pick these 4 items, pick one of them. And you said, I don't know, the dumplings. And I lifted it up and there were some dumplings underneath the plate. Would that be better? Or is it still...
Yeah, I mean, that, I don't know how you would know that.
No, I couldn't do that, but I'm just asking you. So you're saying this trick is too obvious.
Well, I mean, I got it. And I did.
Well, you think
and
you
I
got
don't.
it?
I'm pretty sure I got it. And I don't get tricks. The fact that I went, okay, let's pick 4 different ones and count them up, and you went, I got it.
Be boring, wouldn't it? Take too long. Yeah, not entertaining.
It's like 3 seconds and it'd prove me right.
Shut up, man.
But
He's quite good at maths.
so I think, yeah, if I got it that quickly, and there was no, oh my god, do you know what, even ones where, like with the one with the stamp, I got it eventually, but there was still that initial,
the one with the
shit.
alleged stamp.
With the stamp. But it, like, initially I was like, oh my god, and then it took a little bit of time to think about it when we dissected it, and then I kind of worked it out from that. It was kind of almost a bit like, okay, it's probably that.
This is really interesting because I love this, and Rylan loved this. And you know how, like, Rylan can do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to do this. He's got a close-up job later this week, and he's taking this with him.
Oh, okay. That's
So
interesting.
it's really interesting that both him and I liked it, and you weren't too keen.
Would you go out and perform that?
Yeah, I think I'd try it. A lot of the time when I review stuff on the review show, there's stuff that I absolutely definitely won't do, and I know I'm not going to do. Then there's stuff that I'm absolutely definitely going to do, and I can't wait to perform it. And then there's stuff where I think it's got potential and I could do it and I think it could go quite well.
Let's go and try it out.
But I'm
going
to try it out and see what the reactions are like. And that falls into that. It's like, I like it. I think I could make it work presentationally. It kind of fits my style. But I'd need to go. And maybe it's because I need to work on the presentation. I know you said I presented it well, but maybe it would be less.
I don't see how else you could have. With the parameters that are in place with the trick, you've got to get to the point where somebody picks 4 different cards from 4 different restaurants. I don't know how else you could get to that, which is like, it's limited in the performance aspect of it, because you've got to get to, how many different ways are there to say to someone, you've got to pick one from each restaurant. How many other ways can you do that?
Yeah.
So you're limited on the way that you can present it, because you've got to get to that very specific piece of information that has to be passed across to the audience.
Okay.
It's not. There's no mystery involved in it, is there? You've got to pick one card.
Well, there is a mystery involved in it. There's a
Your
prediction.
very badly drawn question mark.
Well, you know, you don't have to just do the prediction like that. One thing that David talks about is having £42 inside the box. So afterwards, you tip out the money, and it's got £42, assuming that you went for £42. Obviously, if it was a different outcome, you'd have
It's
that
going to be
money.
42 quid every time, isn't it?
you'd
So
have
you
that.
could just have 42 quid in there, and then done. It's 42 quid every time.
No.
And that would be great. It would be a good reveal. Same as that is a good reveal. But by the time you've got to the reveal, I'd kind of already got an idea in my head before we'd even got to the reveal of what it was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which very rarely, if ever, happens.
I'd just like to point out to the people that are watching this Matt test that we have 2 people here currently sitting in this office. The first person is a multi-award winning magician that's created some of the most popular best-selling tricks of all time. And the other one is an idiot.
And his name is Craig.
Why am I an idiot? I just figured out the trick.
You didn't figure out the trick. I don't want to. I really like the trick.
I like it. I think if you were going out and performing to people that hadn't seen a crap ton of magic, and
You
a
may-
million things that are very similar.
So
to that.
basically, it could be that you're a jaded twat.
It could just be I'm a jaded twat. It could be. But I've seen so many of those kind of things, and not just from you, from anyone that you go out and see.
Because that's the thing,
perform magic.
you watch a lot of magic. Because
so
you go to a
much of
lot of
it.
events, you see a lot of magicians.
So much of it. And like I said, weddings and stuff that I go to, and corporate events and stuff that we go to, and all different kinds of stuff. And there's always magicians with this kind of stuff. It was at Drayton Manor over the weekend. There was a guy walking around doing that kind of stuff. There's loads. Everybody does that kind of stuff. So if you've seen one of them, you know, regardless of whether the method's different or the way that it's presented's different, the outcome's pretty much the same. For a lot of the tricks that are like that, with the little cards, and there's various different things on the little cards, and there's a, you know, different number of cards, whatever. It's a very similar kind of thing, and it just feels like seeing some of the magic that you perform, seeing some of the magic that Nem performs, and Lloyd, and you know, the videos that I see online of all these incredible magicians doing these things that literally blow your mind, going from all of that stuff that I know that you can do and you're more than capable of. I don't understand why somebody that's got the skill set that you've got, and Lloyd's got, and Nem's got, and all these people, I don't understand why, if you've got that, you'd go and do something like that. I feel like that is a trick for maybe people that aren't as high up with the rankings as you guys. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the person that's designed and developed that in any way, shape or form. But I think that that kind of thing is a bit below your level.
Wow.
That sounds really harsh, doesn't it? I didn't mean it to be really harsh in any way. I just think that because I've seen so many of them, and I've seen so much of that kind of trick, it doesn't have that wow factor.
It is a self-working trick. Yeah, it works itself. But I've shown you self-working tricks in the past, and you've been like, "Oh my god, Aldo Colombini, Call to the Colours." Where I'm like, all the cards are separated into red and black, and I've got the aces and all of that. That's a self-working trick.
You say that's a self-working trick, but you cannot compare the reveal of that trick, of anything that Aldo ever touched, ever. I'm his biggest fan. I wish he had merch out. I would still buy it. You cannot compare the reveal of those tricks to that. You can't.
So ultimately, you're saying this is a bit underwhelming.
It underwhelmed me. I'm sure it would go down really well in like a situation where somebody hasn't seen a lot of magic. I'm sure they'd be like, that's really, they wouldn't think about it. It's a great trick. Do you know what I mean? But for me, you've jaded me over the years, for sure, because to me, it was underwhelming to me, and I apologise. I really do, but I want to be like, every trick that comes on this thing is incredible and it blows me away and blah, 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 blah.
And that didn't.
It just didn't, man. Just didn't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh. Don't know what to say.
I feel really bad now. Don't make me feel bad about it. You told me to be honest.
I feel like if people search Craig's phone, all they're going to see is Hitman in Midlands.
I know, I'm just like...
No, I understand.
You tell me to be honest.
No, I
about
want
this.
you to be honest. I love your honesty on these things. I really do. And such a interesting. You know what? I see where you're coming from. I disagree, but I do see where you're coming from. It's really interesting discussion. Thank you.
I feel bad.
No, don't feel bad.
I'm going home.
Don't feel bad. Don't go home. You've got stuff to sell.
A message to politicians, this is how you have a civil debate.
So for me, that was fascinating. You know, I mean, I think it's very important as magicians that we get in the mind of a layperson and we find out exactly what a layperson thinks about a particular trick. And, you know, I've heard that advice before, where if you want to know what people really thought of your show, you go and hang out in the toilets after the theatre show and you listen to the conversations in the toilets. And I think it's really important. Sometimes as magicians, we can kid ourselves into thinking our performance is brilliant when in actual fact it's not really as good as we thought. I thought I performed this okay. And, you know, Matt, who was brutally honest with me, said that I performed it okay. But he just didn't like it. Now, that could just be because it's not Matt's sort of thing. It could be, like you heard, it could be just because Matt's seen a million tricks like this before. In reality, he hasn't, because the principle at play behind this trick is very, very different to anything I've seen before. But, you know, it could be that just Matt, you know, he said it at the end. He said, hey, I think it's too obvious. Now, he doesn't know anything about magic. He's seen a lot of magic. He doesn't really know any magical principles other than I've been teaching him Crazy Man handcuffs, which is why he's got rubber bands on his wrist. But outside of that, he doesn't really do anything. So I find it really fascinating that he got completely, he was nonplussed. He was non-impressed by this at all, especially when both me and Ryland gave it such a high mark. When he said, hey, I'd expect you to do better tricks. I'm just surprised. I'm really surprised. I think I'm actually going to do this on a review show revisited because maybe it's Matt. Maybe that's just the opinion of him. And maybe that's not the opinion of other people that would be watching this trick. So I think I'm going to do this on a review show revisited soon. I'd love to know what people actually think of this trick. I personally, it hasn't changed my opinion. I really like it. I stand by my 100% rating of Ideal Meal. I think it's really good. I think the hook is really good. I think any time that you can actually take mind reading and you can apply it to something that people care more about, it's a good thing. I'd rather do something involving food and getting people to create the ideal meal. I'd rather do something like that than something with ESP symbols. And, David Jonathan is an absolutely creative powerhouse. So I disagree with Matt, but I'm not going to not put the Matt test up. I mean, the point is, you get a full, honest opinion from Matt, somebody who's a performer, somebody who, although doesn't know magical methods, understands presentation and understands tricks and understands how you sell magic to people at an event. Like I say, maybe it's just not the sort of trick for him. I don't want this to discourage people from picking up Ideal Meal if you haven't already got it. You saw a full unedited performance there, so you know exactly what the trick is and you know exactly what it does. It's your decision as to whether you get it or not. You might think from listening to Matt that maybe it's not for you, or you might like it. As I say, I personally, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be testing it out and seeing what the reactions are like, and I will put it on a review show revisited in the future. But there you go, really interesting. Like I said at the beginning of the video, sometimes we do these Matt tests and it really surprises me. I was very confident coming into this performance that Matt would love Ideal Meal. And the fact is, he hasn't. It kind of makes you think, how many tricks do we go out and do? And we're convinced that those tricks are amazing. And maybe the audience is being polite to us and it's not as good as we think it is. One thing I love about kids' magic is that generally, as a rule, kids are very honest. If they don't like your show, if they don't like your tricks, they're just going to stand up and they're going to walk off and they're going to blank you. Adults don't do that. If you're performing close up at a gig and there's some, there's people watching you, even if they don't like your trick, they're not going to walk away. So maybe sometimes we kid ourselves into thinking that the magic's better than it actually is. I don't know. But there you go. It's another Matt test. It's not a winner for Matt, but it is an absolute winner for me and Ryland. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Do me a favor. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. If you haven't already done so, please go check out the NETRIX. It's www.thenetrix.com. It's my online streaming platform for magicians, and every day I'm adding new content. We're up to over 200 tricks on the platform now, and it continues to grow every single week. I will see you again very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.